Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Herb's Comic Book Journey. This week we're going to be tackling the MCU again, and we will also be into the Ultimate Universe, like we was last week with the Fantastic Four. And this one we're going into Spider-Man. Spider-Man, the Ultimate Universe. I thoroughly enjoyed this story. It's not like the original one made by Stan Lee back in the 60s. This one is a more up-to-date version of it. It was made in around 2004. Let's just get to the story. It starts in Norman Osborn's on Osborn Industries, where he's running a lot of experiments going on in his place, at this huge building in the middle of New York, and they're running some tests on spiders, and the DNA that they made their own little experiments going on and built and made some different type of spiders. Except one of them got away, and nobody thought about anything to like track this thing down whatsoever. I mean, if this thing could bite somebody, hey, what the hell could it possibly do to somebody? You know, I mean, you would think that you'd be more responsible with a multi-billion-dollar industry. Let's get back to it. So we find out about Peter Parker. Peter is a 15-year-old kid who. He's just a bookworm he likes girls. He likes the science. He's pretty much a whiz when it comes to his schoolwork. Very intelligent kid. But he always gets bullied. He can't really stand up to himself because everybody always picks on him. He's tired of just dealing with people just messing with him all the time, and eventually he's just sad, but he's a good kid. But one person to always help him get through the days is his Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben is obviously his uncle, who's his father figure, and with his aunt, and he also lives with his Aunt May as well. Her husband is Ben, obviously. So they go deep into the fact that Ben has always looked out for him as a father figure, always looked out for his best interests, made sure that he was doing the right thing. And for the most part, he always has, but he just always got bullied at school. So then we find out about Harry Osborn, son of Norman, and Harry is Peter's best friend. He's really tight with him, always been cool. So we find out about him. He's got a lot of money because of his dad, but he also is a very smart kid as well. And the one thing that they have share in common is science. And he comes over to his house to learn a little bit more about Harry goes over to Pete's house, as he calls it, the Parker Palace, and just finds out more. He wants to learn more about biology. So when he goes over to the house one day, he figures out like, hey, what's all this formulas on this black sock that you on this board that you got here? Oh, this formula was made by my dad before he died. Supposedly he had died his parents supposedly died in a plane accident, and in the midst of all that, they go the very next day. They find out they go to a field trip to Osborn Industries. They never said that they ever got that spider. I'm still starting to think like, hey, this is not a good thing. You should not be having kids be showing up to places, getting bitten by random spiders and everything that you're running experiments on. Anywho, let's get back to the story. In the midst of that, Pete accidentally gets bitten by one of the spiders. Go figure. He falls to the ground instantly, just cringing in pain, and he's like, man, I really don't feel good. But then gets home the next day, and Pete just starts feeling really, really good. So good to the fact that he's feeling stronger, faster, and all this other stuff. I mean, he's starting to get some power. So, in the midst of all this, Norman knows that, hey, my son's friend gets bit by a spider that's got something to do with my industry. So he starts to follow him because he doesn't want, making sure he doesn't, nothing happens to him. But it's really kind of shady because he has a guy that's running around with a gun trying to follow him, saying, like, making sure the kid doesn't get hurt. But why would you make sure that this kid doesn't get hurt when you have somebody with a gun following him? I mean, just, anywho, moving forward. As Pete learns about his powers, and he starts to, he's a 15-year-old kid, of course. Hey, I was getting bullied before. I mean, I started to get a little bit of power. I mean, I could start doing a little more shit than I couldn't. Starts to get a little cocky, and rightfully so. So, this one kid who was one of the people who bully him, decides, hey, I'm going to beat up Parker. What's he going to do to me? Yeah, about that. He swung at Peter. Peter broke his hand. And now his parents are sitting there saying that May and Ben need to be paying their $2,500 hospital bill. But why was your kid swinging at my child? I mean, it's just, it just is moving forward. It's a lot of things just, it's not even really the story. It just like boggles the mind. Like with this, like if you got a spider that's just that's radioactive, and why would you let people come into your business? Why would you still have this stuff going on? I mean, if your kid is up there swinging at other kids and he gets his ass whooped, I mean, it just boggles the mind. Moving forward, as all of this is going down, Pete is figuring out, like, hey, I could use some money. So he sees an ad in the paper talking about how you can make money by joining the wrestling community. And if you go ahead and beat these wrestlers, then you can make some money. So he doesn't want his identity put out there. He just goes out and puts on this mask and this whole entire suit, because obviously you can't hire a 15-year-old to go and wrestle. Mass Tran. Moving forward. So, except this time, he goes ahead and he's beating the living shit out of everybody. And he's making money. But he's also flourishing in sports and everything else in life. So it's starting to look pretty good. But his grades is not looking so good at all. And you start to think like, hey, his parent, Aunt May and Uncle Ben, looking at him like, hey, dude, you've been flunking a lot lately. What the hell is going on? You think that you can get this stuff together? He's just like going, he's like, man, look here. I ain't even trying to hear all that mess. Just please leave me alone. But while this is all going around, remember that Norman Osborn that I was telling you about? Well, he decides to go ahead and says like, well, if Parker has all these powers and everything that's going on, well, why the hell can't I? It's my formula. Let me try to go ahead and get some help to go ahead and get this thing together. So he informs this doctor named Dr. Octavius, Doc Ock, if you will. And we'll find out more about him later in the series. So he decides to go ahead and says to himself, hey, I'm making a whole bunch. This kid's got a whole bunch of power. I want the power too. It's my formula. Why the hell can't I have the same thing? Norman gets tests run on him, and Octavius runs some tests on Peter's blood to see what's going on. And eventually they start to set it up. But Octavius has, he flipped up the formula. And then all of a sudden, kaboom, big explosion happens. Norman is pretty much done for. Everything is like explodes in the lab. And guess what? Doc Ock is nowhere to be found. Because he's going to get into some shit. Moving forward, as everything is going around, Peter is basically just doing his own thing. But he gets into another argument with, what's the name? No, I'm sorry. Let's go back. As Peter's just beating everybody's ass in wrestling, he's leaving one time. He's leaving the place, and there's a robber who basically just goes, runs past him, just robbed a deli. And he has the opportunity to basically just stop this guy. And the robber just runs past him. And the deli owner's like, dude, why don't you try to stop him? What you could have did was just clipped him up. I mean, you could have did something. It ain't my responsibility. Alrighty. Well, you're going to find out. With great power comes great responsibility. But yeah. So, moving forward, Peter Parker decides, hey, like, I'm just trying to get myself together in life, but Uncle Ben is like, hey, like, dude, we see that you're just not doing so good with your schooling again and everything. What is going on, man? I mean, what's up? And he's like, man, I ain't even trying to hear you right now, bruh. And he pursues he goes to run off. Yeah, that wouldn't happen in the Black House, because, I mean, the second you feel like you can just run off, stay on topic, Herb. Stay on topic. That wouldn't happen in the Black House, is all I'm going to say. So, yeah, he moves forward. He goes on and runs off, but he goes to a party. The ball's on this kid. He goes to a party, and he starts to feeling himself. He's really starting to get in this groove. He's beating kids' ass in school now. He's balling in basketball from here and there. I mean, he's beating up wrestlers, making money. I mean, hey, why the hell not? I mean, and all the girls start looking at him and everything. And this girl he's really had his eye on for the longest time beforehand, her name is Mary Jane. Mary Jane kind of likes him too and everything, but she didn't say anything to him. So he's like, well, these girls are throwing it at me. I'm just going to go ahead and have myself a good time. So he sees Mary Jane just look at him. He's like, oh, snap. Let me try to go and holler at her real quick. But at the time when she starts running off, he runs up to the door, and guess who he sees? Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben says to him, like, Pete, you have everything that's coming to you. You're a bright kid with you just have everything just coming to you with great not power in this situation. They said with great knowledge. We're just gonna stick to great power, great responsibility. I can't remember it right this second, but it's not. It is the ultimate universe, so they have a different say. I will have it right here. That's exactly what he said. But in this right this second, we're gonna say great power, great responsibility. And so in the midst of all that, he runs off and he just goes on his own. But when he gets back to the house later on that night, white people, yeah, because I would have got my ass whooped at that point. I just would have. I mean, it didn't matter if I had powers or not. Getting back onto the topic, he gets home and the police are there. And unfortunately, something had happened to Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben was unfortunately shot, and he basically was murdered there at the house. Him and Aunt May were playing cards. this robber comes in and says to him like, "Hey, give me your money." And Pete and Uncle Ben sitting there like, "Dude, I don't have money. I'm just as broke. You probably got more money than I do at this point," and kind of laughs at it. So I guess the robber was feeling like a little bitch and then decided to shoot him. And then unfortunately, the king, Uncle Ben, for the great guy that he is, unfortunately, he passes away. He succumbs to the gunshot wound and dies. Pete, coming home, finding this out, he decides to take matters in his own hands because he just doesn't believe the police is going to get the person quick enough. And he puts on the spider suit that he created from the wrestling shows, and he decides to find that guy. Only thing is, when he found that guy, it was the same guy that he allowed to go ahead and run off from that deli store robbery. Could have stopped it there, Pete. I mean, I'm sorry. But unfortunately, your loved ones got killed because of you being irresponsible. Unfortunate events happen. But he doesn't kill him. Thank God he doesn't. Do the right thing. He basically gets him for the police. But the police is looking like, oh, this is a guy just rolling around and flipping and shit. So we're going to shoot at him because we don't know what he's capable of either. So, but Pete rolls out, and I mean, understandably so. He's a 15-year-old kid, and he's distraught by the fact that his uncle got killed, and he got the murderer put in jail. And as he sits there and thinks about that talk that he had with Uncle Ben, great responsibility. It's just you got it. You have all this blessings on you, and you need to do the right thing. And so, with that being said, he starts saving kids from fiery buildings. Then he goes and beats up thugs and everything that's trying to rob people and stuff like that. But he's still emotionally just distraught about his uncle. And as he's coming home, Aunt May is over at Mary Jane's crib, and he just sits there and just starts bawling out, crying, just because he's distraught. And that is the origin story of Spider-Man. Now, my thoughts on it: I thoroughly enjoyed the series so far. This got over like 100 issues of this. It's an amazing ultimate universe that they have going on with here. It's definitely something to look at. It's a thoroughly good comic book series that you should guys check out. Like I said in the credits earlier, you guys should really get the chance to just go and support this comic series, the Ultimate comic series. Great artwork, great storyline. Everything is on point. Truth be told, if I don't like the series at all, I'm probably not going to do a review on it. But I thoroughly liked it. Like I said last week with the Ultimate comics, they pretty much are on point. And shout out to my co-host Trey, because he pretty much gave me shit about last week using the Ultimate Universe with Fantastic Four. He actually put me onto this one, so shout out to Trey proper. So yeah, this was a really good story that I thoroughly enjoyed. And it's my journey. but not all jokes aside, this is a very good read that you guys should check out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review on this comic. And until then, I shall see y'all next week on Wednesday. Peace.